Today I want to tell you about a book that I'm reading that is just fantastic and shows you why you need to study the languages of whatever country you're reading about, because there are going to be a lot of things that are just not available in English. So that book is this fabulous book, Все Истребительные Авиаполки Stalina, Первая, Полная Encyclopedia. That is all of the fighter aviation regiments of Stalin, the first complete encyclopedia. This book, which just came out a couple of years ago, let's see if I get the title right, is almost 1,000 pages. 1,000 pages. 1,000 pages. So let me show you what's in this book and why it's important for somebody to be reading it, even if it's not you, if you don't read Russian, but somebody needs to be using this book. Okay, so let's look inside. What is inside the book is simply unit histories of every single fighter aviation regiment that was part of the Soviet Air Forces, including the Air Defense Forces and the Naval Aviation, every fighter regiment that flew in World War II. And they also include those that went on to fly in Korea. So, for example, these pages show you the 9th Guards. This is one of the most famous regiments that existed, and many famous fighter pilots were in this unit. So, it starts off here. It tells you that it began its life as the 69th Fighter Aviation Regiment, and at the end of the war, it was given the title, sorry, I can't seem to highlight this where I went, the 9th Guards, Odessa, Red Army, Order of Suvorov Fighter Aviation Regiment. And every regiment has its titles in there. Not everyone becomes a Guards unit, of course. Then it gives you what the Soviets call the combat path, where the basic outline of where the unit is on what dates and what it's doing and what it's subordinated to. So a couple of pages of that. Then it has a list of the assignments of the unit. So it shows you the front, the dates, the subordination, what division it was assigned to usually, how many combat flights were accomplished at that point, and then losses of aircraft and pilots. So the 9th Guards starts out on the southern front, goes to Stalingrad, on down to the 4th Ukrainian, 3rd Belarusian, and 1st Belarusian fronts at the end of the war, where it is fighting with the 16th Air Army. After that, it breaks down the combat missions that were flown by this regiment. So it breaks them down by type, and there's various kinds of air combat missions here. So there's escort missions, there's free hunt missions, reconnaissance, lots of other kinds of missions here. It gives you a total count of how many combat missions of each kind were flown by year, and totals them all up. So this regiment was credited with 15,237 combat sorties during the Great Patriotic War. After that, it breaks down the types of enemy aircraft that were destroyed. So first, into broad categories, you've got fighters, and it breaks down those that are killed in air combat and those that were destroyed on the ground. So for this unit, in all during the war, they shot down 285 enemy fighters and destroyed another 24 on the ground. And then there's bombers, transports, communications, and other kinds of aircraft as well. And then under that, there's a few miscellaneous categories, ground equipment and things that were also destroyed. So Автомашины, various kinds of trucks and cars, 665 of those. After that, they give aircraft losses. So these are the losses that the regiment endured during the war in combat, and then other kinds of losses. And then they break that down. So this first line is those that were lost in air combat. So in all, 54 aircraft were lost during the war in air combat, and then others to anti-aircraft fire, hit on the ground, and those that went missing. And then there were various other kinds of losses for accidents and things like that. After that, they break down the pilot losses. So, or losses of personnel, I should say. So they've got the numbers that were killed in air combat, those that were missing in action, and then a few other accidents and other kinds of things. And this, that's total losses, this is pilots, and this is technical staff. And then they break down those losses as well by year. And then finally, they list the commanders of the regiment. Lavrenikov, who was the last commander, but he was flying with them earlier in the war. It was a very, very famous fighter ace. And he left memoirs that are available in Russian too. Here you can see that this commander Morozov was killed during the war, replaced by a temporary commander, and then they brought back Lavrenikov to take over at the end of the war. And then there's a little bit about their post-war activities. So that's it. Pages and pages of precise information from the archives on every single regiment that was in World War II in the Red Army. Now, the unfortunate thing is there's no citations. Now, I've been in the archives, and so, you know, I know that the numbers are what's in the archival documents, and I think that this book is pretty accurate, but, you know, it's very, very frustrating to a scholar that they don't better document the sources, because for the years and years of work that go into a project like this, absolutely invaluable work, and it's the kind of work that should have been done by official units in the Soviet Union, and because of all the upheavals in the last few decades, that kind of official history just didn't get done. But here are people who are doing this because they love history and they want to preserve this information, and have now made this available for us. And I was damn lucky I was able to get a copy of this, because these things tend to be printed in pretty short print runs and go out of print fairly quickly. So this is just a wonderful, invaluable book, and I highly recommend it to everyone.